That is a condition that is seen when children are growing up and emerges or occurs as a consequence of differences in brain wiring. It is seen more in boys versus girls, and as a consequence has also been associated with a genetic condition. They have challenges in social interaction. They are hesitant to make eye contact. They have challenges in communication, and they also exhibit repetitive behavior.
When my son was born, he was a complete normal child, and he had been achieving all the milestones till the age of 1.5 years. And it was after 1.5 we started realizing that he is not speaking up, even though he is following certain few words he started, but he was not really speaking up. So we started worrying, and we went initially to a doctor, and doctor would say that it's a boy, so it may take another, sometimes boy speaks up at the age of 2.5 years, 3 years. So that was there, but still our worry started in that very process. And in the meanwhile we had to shift from one place to another. We moved out from there, and then that is the place we had to shift to Goa. And when we shifted out there, we could really find the gap. He was already by then 2 years old, and when we found the gap and the worry as a parents, initially we went to a doctor. We didn't know anyone there. It was a new place. We had to go to a doctor, and he then suggested us that you can go and check out with one of the their NGO is there, that where they have a child psychiatrist, so you can go and check out there. So that was the first time that we have come to know about what is autism.
Autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder, and it is now popularly and commonly known as the autism spectrum condition. A child with severe autism may even have problems with motor movements because of reduced development in the motor cortex, might have big problems in verbal communication. But there will be other people also with features of autism who might have intact language but might have challenges in the nuances of social communication.
There are also some stereotypical behaviors that are very commonly seen in people who are on the autism spectrum. That stereotypical behavior or a repetitive kind of movement or activities that they do, they are basically doing it to calm themselves down, to cope with whatever sensory overstimulation that they are going through.
It is very difficult for us to accept that time, and it was in our wildest of dream, because he has been all those years a very happy, smiling and full of lively, and suddenly he started the gap. We couldn't find it in that point of time, and since then, by then it was already 2.5 years, and we could slowly see the gap growing more and more, and that was the time we started knocking door here and there, and we had to go to Bangalore, we come to Delhi, and we were to Bombay to really know, because it was that we were also ignorant, as a parent, what is autism, what really. So we started searching and reading books and meeting doctors and therapists.
When should children start speaking, knowing enough words, making eye contact, responding to names, responding to turn taking, responding to joint attention? So joint attention is something which a child does. So he sees an aeroplane in the sky and will go call his mother or his father or his grandfather to say, that's the plane in the sky that you told me about. So you're sharing the attention that something caught you with something else. That's a very important part of being social as beings. Children with autism often don't exhibit that. How we show emotions when we are happy, when we are sad, when we are upset. Children with autism often don't demonstrate these. We don't even often teach children emotions, they pick them up. Okay? But now we've begun to realize that it's also important to teach children emotional literacy. Okay? How, when you are hungry, to not just end up crying, but to recognize that physiological feeling of hunger, to give it a name of something that you want and need, and to be able to express it. Okay? So that's the importance of wanting to do early intervention in autism, and the many ways in which some of these features of development and milestones are important for us to be able to build awareness.
When we are sitting in an environment, we are able to filter out all the irrelevant information, and we can focus on something that we need to focus on. But a person who is on the autism spectrum is not able to filter out the irrelevant information. So all the sensory information, the visual inputs, the auditory inputs, the tactile inputs, everything is bombarding his brain. And that person is not able to filter out the irrelevant information. So he finds it very difficult to cope with everything that is happening all around him. And therefore that person sort of withdraws into his own shell and has a coping mechanism to cope with that kind of overstimulation. So you must have seen a lot of people, or you may not have actually acknowledged that the person has autism, but you must have come across people who do repetitive movements in a stereotypical way. They either rock their body, or they just kind of take some visual inputs to relax themselves, or they do some self-talking.
That was the time that they still, as a parent, we always had a hope that, yeah, even though we are being told about these steps you should follow, you should take up for social and put to the play schools and lot of social activities outside, outdoor activities would be done. Still, we always had a feeling that maybe one day he will come out of all this, you know, with that expectation, because we are not fully aware till then that the journey what the autism is going to take place. It is so all these years we had to really face a lot of in between. They have a behavior issues comes up, the schooling problems comes up. So with the school that we had to shift from one school to another so that we can have a better place for him, that the teachers would understand, because since it was a place where we don't have a early intervention center, so as a parent I had to go to various centers and therapies and get myself trained and to be with the child, so that when I come back home I can practice it or I can do with him. So various home programs, home interventions, we would come, we'd go to, often come to Delhi for that, and then I go back home and I do with my son, because we cannot just depend on a school or, you know, only one place. And as a mother and as a parents, we are fully involved in the whole process of that.
If the child is on the autism spectrum, there's a huge amount of intervention that can help the child to progress and bring out the potential. There's a lot of potential that we can access and reach there. As far as the skills are concerned, there is a term called skill training. We use skill training along with introducing academics, sports, music, dance, holistic development along with skill training. So as a part of skill training, there is a assessment protocol in which the child is given say 100 kinds of activities to participate in, and then the child's interest, the child's ability to participate in that activity, the time span for which the child is able to engage in a particular activity is noted down, is charted, and based on that entire 100 activity protocol, we derive to a conclusion that this child has the following interests and this child has the following strengths, skill strengths.
Done at a very small scale, where we worked with 3 young kids, okay, at a clinic, where we got the persons working with them on intervention to actually talk to them and reward them by saying every time they did something well, we said, good job, instead of saying just good job, or give me 5, and the child will do give me 5. So the moment you use that extended tone of interaction with the child began to respond. And we found over a period of 12 weeks that their joint attention improved and even their communication improved. And what was most remarkable was that the child who had the biggest challenges in communication, who was the least verbal, actually showed the biggest impact. Okay, and so our hope really has been after that, if we are able to scale this and make this available to larger number of parents to be able to use. What we are still trying to understand is which are the best windows of opportunity to use this. Should you use this at 3, at 5, at 7, at 15, or is it lifelong?
Building a bond with the child. So there is a child who's inside his own bubble, and the child is not able to break that bubble and come out because he's withdrawn, he's disconnected, the neuronal connections are not developing. So instead of we trying to pull out the child off that bubble, we need to step into that bubble, be a part of that little bubble that the child is in, and then gradually building a bond with the child, pairing with the child, building a trust. I am not here to change you. I am not here to judge you. I am just here to be with you. That in itself is very heartening for the child to begin to open up. The child begins to open up once the child feels and realizes that this person is not here to judge me or change me or don't do this, don't do that. This person is here just to be with me, to enjoy my company, and I can enjoy this person's company.
Then later stage comes that by the time he is 7 years and 8 years old, the schooling issues, because that was a time that behavioral also takes place, and we really had to face not only from the schools or the childs, and as a parents emotionally we are a little drained out. We are just in a situations that what is going to, because all these years we have been thinking that, you know, in the process of all these therapies, all these early activities going on, maybe he may come out and, you know, he may be in the mainstream with the other kids. I myself had to quit a job because to take care of my son, because I can't continue, you know, at the end of the day what my job is going to help if I can't, you know, make him independent. That was the goal that I was teaching, but I had to quit it and be with him so that fully help him up, at least grow to independent. That is our main goal.
When we have children who are in the pre-vocational age group, like I said, 5 years to 10 years or 12 years, we call it the pre-vocational group. And for those people, we first derive and make a list of their strengths and their weaknesses, and then we start the skill training. There are two tools that are extremely useful. One is structure and the other are visual supports. Structure means anything that has clarity. There is structure of space. This place is for keeping bags, this place is for keeping books, this place is for sitting and studying, this place is for free time, playing time, this trampoline is for jumping, this mattress is for jumping, but this bed is for sleeping. What the child needs to do, when does the child need to do that particular activity, for how long that activity is going to last, when will the last or the finish time happen, all those things have to be given with a lot of clarity. Predictability and clarity are a part of that structure. And once we start inculcating structure in their training, things happen tremendously beautifully. We see them blossom, we see them develop like no other neurotypical can. So it is amazing to see their progress if we use a lot of visual supports in their teaching and training, incorporated into structured teaching.
We also started tapping on his interest area, which was, and all the autism child generally, if they may not be good in any academic or in as other, because every autism child is unique in their own way. And we could find that my son, he has a bent on the music, whether listening to music or playing a music. At least if they have some talent in something, if you can, as a parents, can tap up, that is the area that we put him. So that is where Prithvi is now into tabla and the piano. These are the two things that we are, and let's see. And beside that, he is does a lot of sports activities. He is into cycling and basketball. Of course, as a parents, we have to always push him every step, and we have to be always there. We have to always encourage him. He too got an award and prizes, so that really motivates him. And we can see the happiness, the joy, that small confidence that they get.
I love music.
Naturally, the parents will be much more happier when they see their son or daughter coming out with flying colors, scoring 80-90% marks in their academics or in other fields. And what happens to a parents of autistic child, it's every milestones that he achieves that gives the satisfaction. The milestones of his giving a smile, his understanding is improving, his eye contact improves, he is able to socialize with the peer group. He is doing some kind of excellent either in terms of music or sports or other areas where he has that skill set, and is showing that kind of a dramatic change. So that is the moment every autistic parents, I'm sure, must be waiting for, to see that their years of the efforts that they are putting in for the child, it is coming to light, and the child is able to. So every small milestones gives them a maximum satisfaction to the parents of child with autism, which I don't think that the other people can understand, never think of, because the struggle that they have been going through, just to see a small smile in the face of the child. So once that is visible, extremely the child parents are very, very happy to see that yes, my son or my daughter has achieved these milestones, and that's the moment I think we are all living for.